All right, so we're going to finish off this section, section 10.4, with one last example talking about credit cards. If you use a credit card to borrow money called a cash advance, there is generally no grace period, and a finance charge is applied from the date you borrowed the money until the date you repay the money. This is generally a very expensive way of borrowing money. Right? So generally cash advances, it's an expensive way of borrowing money. You end up paying back a lot of interest. So let's take a look at an example here. Okay, so Travis uses his credit card to obtain a cash advance of $600 to pay for his textbooks in medical school. The interest rate charged for the loan is 0.05477% per day. Looks like a very small percentage, but remember it is a daily percentage, right? Not an annual percentage. So it is very different. Travis repays the money plus interest after 27 days. Determine the interest charge for the cash advance. And when he repaid the loan, how much did he pay to the credit card company? Okay. So we are going back again to section 10.2. Remember, interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, our principal is 600. Right, that's how much money was borrowed. Our rate is 0 point, and we got to move this over 2 places. So we're going to have 0, 0, 0. So we had 2 zeros in there. 5, 4, 7, 7. And our time is 27. Both our interest rate and our time, remember it's important that they match. Well, these guys match, right? These guys match because they are both in days. All right, so now we're going to plug these numbers into our formula. All right, 600 times this big decimal that we have here, 0.000547 times 27, and we get an interest of $8.87. Right, so not a ton of money, but it is generally a more expensive way. In this particular case, I should say it's not a ton of money. But generally speaking, this is a more expensive way of borrowing money. Instead of paying back, $8 over the course of a few months or a year, it's paying back, the $8.87 after less than a month. All right, when he repaid the loan, how much did he pay the credit card company? So thinking about this, remember the payoff is the amount borrowed plus interest. So our payoff, the amount borrowed, the original amount was 600 plus our interest of 887 gives us $608.87. All right, so when we're thinking about credit cards, just a few things to keep in mind. And remember, it's not just a piece of plastic. Right? These are powerful things that have a lot of financial responsibility attached to them. Right? Pay attention to things such as interest rates, other fees, anything that could possibly be part of your charge, which is actually the second thing that's written there. Know your annual percentage rate as well as any other fees, such as annual fees, teaser rates. Sometimes when you sign up for a credit card, you start with a lower APR, and then after a few months or a year, it switches. So just be careful that you're paying attention to those. Try not to use credit cards for cash advances. So when we're going and kind of thinking about those, again, in this particular case, it doesn't look terrible, but trust me, I know from experience, cash advances are an expensive way to borrow money. Pay attention to your due date and always make payments on time, and that's going to kind of come full circle with the first part. If you can, try to pay your balance in full every month. And so with credit cards, again, there's a ton of financial responsibility, and then it then in turn gets linked to things such as your credit score, which then can affect future loans, future purposes. So it is definitely something that you want to make sure you are monitoring, make sure you're thinking about. Make sure that you are making responsible financial decisions for yourself.